Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll start up the file demo right now. And nobody else, so we're done here. All right, I'm going to throw you a lot of information right now. It's going to spin your head. Don't try to remember everything, but at least you get an idea what's going on and what's available to you. So this is going to be a crash course in files. I got roughly a half an hour. So what I'm going to tell you, when we use files, it's all at the end of the job. We're so used to the machines that this is at the end for fitting stuff. So it's at the end. So to give you an example, if you pass this around, you'll see, look for the repair on that. And you can see what I did on this handle here. It got chipped out, so I filed away, and I'm going to take a mating piece and fit that into that. And also this here, aluminum cap for a Delta that I fixed up. This was really beat up, and I'll show you how I did that. And this is aluminum also, so that was on there. Now, you got two basic types of files. You got American pattern. That's what you're used to seeing when you were with your dad when you were a kid and he went to the store and bought a file for the house. He would just get if he needed a hand file, just a regular file, he would buy one of these. What it is a flat file. They call it a flat file, and it's cut on all four edges. And they made these from 4-inch to 20 inches.
Wow.
Okay, now to mess you up more, this is a hand file. If you look at this, you see it's all cut on all four edges. This one here is parallel. It's cut on one edge, but it's got one safe edge. So when you're doing something, when I first started using files with my dad's, it was one of these. And you go up to something else and you hit the other edge and you screw it up. Like a square file has all four edges cut on American pattern. American pattern are your basic heavy-duty files that you use. Swiss pattern is the precision stuff, so we'll forget about that for right now. Now, American pattern files come in 3 cuts. Bastard cut is the coarsest, second cut is medium, and smooth. That's what the only 3. Now to mess with your heads even more, back like 50, 60 years ago, they had dead coarse and dead smooth. So don't even think about that, but if you ever see something like that, it's really rare. Because I've seen a couple boxes, but never, finding them. Now, you got those in the hand. Now, what's next is a pillar file. Pillar file is just like a hand file, but it's a lot narrower, okay? And it's got one safe edge and one cut edge, okay? Then you got your basic square. There's all 4 corners that are sharp in that. And that's flat. Now your basic round here, you can see how the tops are chopped off here. And this is a half round here that you're used to seeing. And you notice how the top is chopped. And this is a float, a curved float. You see how the teeth are all like this. This was used for metal, plastics, wood, everything. And that, what I've seen in the old catalogs. And you see this is called a warding file. It's cut on all sizes. This was for keyways for cleaning up. And you see how thin it is. Again, the top is chopped. And this is a 3 square file here. You can see how brutish that is.
Doing dovetail saws out right there, right?
Yes, yes, delicate dovetail saws, delicate saws. And this is a taper file. Now, and smooth and mill files. Now you're going to hear people say double cut. And with this file here, this big one, you could see the grain here, and then you could see it also on the going crossways here. All files are double cut, except mill files for sharpening. If you notice, it's only one way. When you're using this, with a double cut file, it takes a lot more pressure to make it work. Where the mill file, since it's single cut, will work easier and you'll get the smoother finish for your scrapers and stuff like that. Now, rasps. Now, yeah, here's another round here. Now, in the American pattern, you got your rasps here. Half round, you notice it's a half round shape. And these were made in the old days from 6-inch to 16-inch. And the teeth get bigger according to the size of the file. So if you notice, the teeth look on here is completely different. Keep that in mind. I'll mess with your head later on that. And now, all right. Now, in the old catalogs, flat rasps like this and half rounds are in the same category. So when you went to the store, you bought what you wanted, flat or a half round. Now, these were designed for carpenters and plumbers to do rough work, and for woodwork any general. Now, these only came in 2 cuts. Remember, you had bastard, second cut, and smooth. These only come in bastard and smooth. The reason for that is for a carpenter or plumber to hog out to fit something, remove a lot of material fast, and they'd give you a smooth one to clean up anything you got for paint in that. So that's how that is. Now, here is a cabinet rasp. And the difference between them is this is a half round, this is a slight radius. It's got a short radius on there. And in the old days, when you bought a cabinet rasp, this only comes in 2 cuts also. Second cut and smooth, okay? Now, when you bought this, you would buy the matching cabinet file. So whatever, let's say for instance, all of the stuff you use interchange. So if you use this first to hog off, let's say you want to do a big radius on something that's real short. You start off with this, you go to this. Now, when you're using this, only on the push stroke, and the harder you press, the deeper the grooves come. But then after you get close, after you get to where you want to go, you start going with lighter pressure, you'll get a better finish. You won't get all the big grooves in there. Then you go to the cabinet rasp and clean it up, get what you want, and then you go to the cabinet file, and all you'll have to do is lightly scrape or lightly sand and you're done. You just walk away. It's amazing what this will do in conjunction. Think of files as sandpaper. You start off coarse and work your way up. And now, you got your round rasps. You know, these are hard to find in the old ones right now. And in the same category is the Nicholson 49 and 50 pattern makers rasps. They are not cabinet makers rasps. They are pattern makers rasps. That's what they were designed for. And you notice the tops are chopped off. And the teeth are random cut on these. And they give you a great finish. I had a 10-inch rasp like this when I first started off an apprentice, and my foreman came in and looked at it and threw it in the garbage because it was Chinese made. It was an old beat up one. And he said, go get a Nicholson 49 and 50. This was like an 84. And I went to the hardware store where they sold them. He goes, hey, I need a 49 and 50. Guy looks at me, goes in back, and he brings them out and he goes, that'll be like $80. And I'm like, you know, I was caught off guard, so I just got the 49 and that. But these are fabulous and that. So,
what's the difference between the 49 and the 50?
49 is a second cut, 50 is a smooth cut. They didn't make a bastard cut in the pattern makers in that rasp there. Now, this here to show you is a new one by Gramercy. This is made in, I forget where, but this is made out of surgical steel. And you notice how that comes to a point. where this is this. So we're going to put this over here on the Swiss pattern tables. Don't even think about that. Now, this is an old Swiss rasp that's got the hand-cut teeth on it. So you can see the difference between there. You see how the teeth are all staggered in that. And that's like the 49 and 50 here. And if you can see that it's got, the teeth are staggered, where this is just machine cut. You know, looking at the top view and that. So this, you know, these cut fabulous, but when you throw in a cabinet file, it equals it out. But all I used before was the 49 and 50 when I was an apprentice. I didn't start using these until I found out about them. I thought these were brutish. But when you use them in conjunction with the cabinet file, you get great results and fast. So, all right, now to mess with your head a little bit more. We're going to go to the Swiss pattern real quick. Okay, here's a half round. See how it comes to a point where is that? This half round here, boom. That's why these are much more expensive. Now, everything you learned on American pattern, forget about. And the Swiss pattern files here come in, and you know, American pattern's bastard, second cut, and smooth. Swiss pattern goes by a numbering system. 00 is the coarsest. 0 is semi-coarse. Then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 cut. For woodworking, all you need is up to 2 cut. Anything above that is for jewelers and bow makers. Use 4 and 6 cut for bows and that. So there's more variations with Swiss pattern for the precision end of it. Now, here's the thing. You notice with this one here, this American pattern, the teeth this is a 4-inch bastard, this is a 20. The teeth get bigger as the file get bigger. So for doing woodworking, you want to use the biggest file possible because you don't have to work real hard. It makes it real easy. Now, the Swiss pattern files, the 00 is the coarsest. Now, here's the catch. The Swiss pattern files were designed for watchmakers in the beginning, and they started off with needle files like this with a round handle. It was a big hit in the early days, and people wanted bigger ones for other types of precision work. So that's when they started making them from 3. They only make Swiss pattern files from 3-inch. This is a pillar, extra narrow pillar. They made them from 3-inch to 12-inch only. Now here's the cool thing. You could take this 10-inch in a 00, this 12-inch in a 00, and a half round and others. They all mix and match. You could take 3-inch to 12-inch. The teeth are all the same through all the sizes. So that's why they're precision orientated, and you can tell by the shapes and the extra effort it takes. But you could use, if you're doing on something, you'll be able to match everything up with the Swiss pattern. But again, and you can see like weird stuff like rifflers like this and that. It's hard for, you know, pass them around in that. You can see what I'm talking about there. And with Swiss pattern, you're getting precision. Now, here's the square here. You can see the square here and this square. You see how it goes to a point. This cuts on all 4 corners. This one here has a safe edge. So you could go, so how many times have you gone up to do something and you messed up the other side because of all the corners? So you got the safe edge. You get built-in precision with the Swiss pattern. That's what it is. It allows you to cheat and get into where you want to go. Now, we talked about, there's a lot more shapes in the Swiss pattern. I didn't get a chance to pull all of them out, but here's a half round. this is called a crossing file. This is what started me on the path of files. My violin maker friend wanted me to get, he said, Slav, find me crossing files in a 00. I'm going, what the hell's a crossing file? And what it is, it looks like a half round. But instead of being flat on the bottom, it's got half the radius of the top. So it's got a little belly. This is what the violin makers like to use. Pass that around.
Now we got some of those.
Yeah, and again, they made that from 3-inch to 12-inch. So the whole versatility that you have. Now,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, shoot.
I've got one like that, but it's double-ended, it has a little indent between the two.
Okay, that's a newer one. Is it, I'm not sure, but it's a double. I haven't seen one in person.
And they're points. Each end is a point.
Yeah. I'd have to.
Tapers down just a little bit in the middle, I guess, kind of get your fingers on there.
Yeah, those, that's Grove making those and that. Now, real quick, since we don't have a lot of time,
Oh, here it comes.
this is the pillar file here, and you can see this is a 6-inch pillar file, and you can see how much thicker it is to this one, which is much longer. And the Swiss pattern pillar files are safe on both edges, not where American pattern has one cutting edge. And they made them extra narrow. This is a 4-inch extra narrow pillar file, and this is an 8-inch narrow pillar file. So you can see, you can pass that around, how weird, you know, all the different, again, it's giving you options. That's the, what woodworking is controlled removal of wood. We got the machines to start off with the big stuff. This is what we use when we get to the end of the job. And you, again, if you know what you got in files, when you come across a problem, then you remember what you got. And to give you an example, as you can see with the round, how it's pointed. And one thing, I'm going to go back to the American pattern here real quick that I forgot to touch over, is aluminum files. Aluminum files were designed for shaping aluminum, and they do a great job. Clark and Williams, the plane makers, they're the ones who educated me on aluminum files. He bought a bunch of these from me, and he uses them to shape the handles on his molding planes and his other types of wood stuff he uses, because they leave a great finish on wood and that. And if you can find one, grab them. They're great. Now, to cram all of this into you, the way you'd use this is a cover for a 17 Delta, and the knob here. Now, the lock knob. Now, this thing was all beat up really bad. And again, this was all experimenting. I've been taught files from everybody else, from violin makers, bow makers, gunsmiths. So the only thing I can take credit for is the cabinet rasps and file. Everything else is, everybody else has taught me. Now, to give you an example, well, I thought, okay, I'm going to experiment with this. I have nothing to lose. That was my thing with this. So I started taking the aluminum file to this and knocking off the dents and all of that. And I was really disappointed in the finish that it was given. And I finally realized that it was designed to remove a lot of aluminum. And the teeth are much farther apart on this so it doesn't clog. And so what I did was I shaped it as much as I can. I was kind of bummed about it. And then same thing with this. It had a big ding on the end here. And so and the insides too, it just got beat up really bad. And so what I did was I took the aluminum file and I shaped it, and I didn't like what it was doing. Then I took an American pattern second cut. And then I started going over it, and then it started making it look real good. Then the light bulb started going off. So then I just started working it with the second cut and smooth, and then I went over with some sandpaper, light 400, and then I took it and buffed it all out. And you can pass this around and take a peek at it. Now, With this thing here, it had a big ding on the end. And so, again, I had nothing to lose, and I filed it, and it made a big flat here on the end from being dented up. So I don't think I brought a knife file. Okay, I screwed up. There's a knife file that's shaped like this, like a V, very tapered. I took that in there, and just a couple shots, I remade the groove. And if you pass this around, you'll see this end here is a little thinner than this end. Who's gonna see? So I was able to pull a rabbit out of my, by doing that, and same process. So, hey, no laughing allowed. You pass that around. So, it's using everything in conjunction with these. And another tip on the files is, when you're using files, blackboard chalk your files, because the chips will, if you do that beforehand, it like lubricates the steel, helps the chips to fall out. And you'll still need a file card to go through and clean up, but keep chalking the file, and that will help. And this is a plain file card, and this one here has got the little poker in there. So when something gets clogged in there real good, you could just go in there and pop it out. Okay. Now, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but
Handles.
what?
Handles.
Handles, a lot of people use them, a lot of people don't. So the bigger files, you want handles. Smaller ones, I got makers who don't use them. So a lot of mine don't have handles on it, so it goes back and forth on that. The one thing I want to hit over is the floats here real quick. And you can see how that's got the curved teeth on there. This is another type here. And right here, this is like a cross patch and a float here on this. This was more, in the later catalogs, they said this was only for automotive and steel, where in the old catalogs, they said these floats you could use on wood, everything. And what's shocking about these floats is you take this and I don't have a vise set up right now, but you could go on steel and get shavings with this. Honest to God, shavings. With wood, you get shavings. It's just shocking. I was blown away when I started experimenting with it. So these are great, but they dull out quick because if you count them up, there's only like 50 teeth on here. So, they will dull out quick. But here's the greatest thing. These are pricey, but they can be resharpened. Boggs Tool Company in California sharpens them. They use some type of high pressure slurry system, and it comes out great. Send them files, because this could be resharpened 2-3 times easy, and that way you'll get your money's worth out of the file. And a sharp file always saves our ass numerous times. So let's see where else I could go now. Now, we hit some of the basics, and now these right here, in American and Swiss, they got all kinds of little offshoot things, offshoot files. Like, these are rifflers, bent rifflers, they're called. And some are like a mill file, some are rasp. They just made all kinds of weird stuff back in the day. And they also made rifflers.
Passed around.
Yeah, I passed it. But in American pattern, you got these type of rifflers here. Then you got your Swiss pattern rifflers also that have just all kinds of weird shapes and all of that. So, and all files are on the push stroke, okay? Not all files. So I get to mess with you even more. Anybody has a die filer? Okay. Yep. Die file, a die filer, you can put all kinds of different files in there. But it cuts on the pull stroke, because if it went on the push stroke, the piece would be flying off of you instead of working it and pulling down on it. So that's the only file that is on the pull stroke. So I have a couple that I use for emergency weird shapes and that. You just got to remember to pull on it and that. Now, on using files, you're technically only on the push stroke. But when you're in a tight situation, you're gonna go back and forth. You know, hey, what matters is getting the job done. And files, they call disposable tooling in the trade. You use it, you throw it out. Now you know we could sharpen them. But, you know, in technicality, you wanna do it all right. But, you know, when you're in a tight situation, you gotta go back and forth. And plus, you know, if you know, in the heat of battle, you do what you gotta do to get the job done. And that. So if you blow out a file, you blow out a file, you know. I'm trying to think what else I can show you on here now. Again, with the files and anything you're doing, think of it as an accessory and a design tool. It's just a file. It's gonna sit in a drawer. It's for you to, when you come up to a problem, figure out how to do it. Remember, woodworking is controlled removal of wood. So it's being able to take off what you want, when you want, without destroying anything else in the job. So this handle here, this is an old Stanley handle. It's hard to see, but I fitted in a little piece right here because it was blowing out in the middle. And if you pass this around, it's kind of hard to see, but again, a chisel will work, but a chisel will tear, and it's a safer thing going with the file. So you can pass that around. So there's just so many variations. I'm in the process of doing a book on files and a video that will be more detail orientated on the whole subject. So I know this is blowing your mind a little bit with all the different stuff that's here, but come and talk to me during out in the lot and later on, and I could fill you in more. But don't worry about getting overwhelmed with all of this. The main thing is that you got an idea about it, and it took me a long time to get used to this, but files are our friend. They've made me a better craftsman, and that's been my goal the whole time, is to be a better craftsman.
Can I ask you a question?
You know, shoot.
You know, I buy files at garage sales, estate sales. A lot of times they have a little bit of surface rust on them. And I know you don't want to keep taking a wire brush.
Yeah.
What's the best way to clean those and to protect them from rusting?
Okay, oil in them, but if you got rusty files, you could use citric acid. Evapo-Rust also works good. Joe did a demo experiment for me on that, and they do a nice job. And buys. And with files, if you're going to be keeping them in the garage, spray them with some oil, you know, just to keep them, you know, like that. Also, don't lay them in a drawer on top of each other, because every time you open up the drawer, the files are going to be rubbing on each other, and they will kill. You'll kill the files. If you want to give me more money, please put them all together. You know, but keep the files. Keep them in a roll, paper towel roll, old towels, or anything like that. Or you could use that styrofoam insulation, that purple stuff, the pink stuff, and just stick them in there. So you could do a lot of different, again, it's designing. You could do however, there's not really set anything. It's, you know, how you want to use stuff. So, any other questions? Shoot.
If you're putting oil on the files to store them, when you pull them out to, say, file on like a birch project, real light wood, how are you cleaning up that oil first? Do you go on a piece of scrap and... You know,
I might get in trouble for saying this, but I wouldn't worry about it that much because, you know, it's going to dry out after a while. And plus, when you're using a file, it's at the end, you know, you're going to be filing and sanding. So, you know, you don't want to, if it's real wet, then you want to blow it off and dry it out like that. And, you know, you could put talcum powder on it, stuff like that. You know, it's improvising. You got to improvise. So I know enough to be dangerous, but I still don't know much. I mean, woodworking and files is very humbling. The more you learn, the more you realize you're clueless. So, you know, just have fun with it and don't get too caught up in the stuff and that. So. But again, just use files, they're our friend. They'll save you when you least expect it. Any other questions? Mr. Broberg, you got a couple files. You got
One or two.
just one or two, yes.
On each size.
I am innocent of all
I would
charges.
guess
Let's
you
put it
would
that way.
say, you know, the files are your friend in every kind of working. This is a brass sand casting that we're cleaning up. First step is just this side is filed, that side's the rough casting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we go over it with 320 grit and then a buffing wheel that shines like a mirror.
Yeah. And I have a couple brass files left. Brass files are hard to find. They're like floats, but they're more straight across. I got one outside I didn't get a chance to bring in. But it's just, whenever you hit flea markets or like a Midwest Tool Collector show, you'll always see the Nicholson pamphlets for files and other things. So when you see stuff, grab it, because there's a lot of good basic information on there and what they're used for. So, you know, and again with this, it's so soft, that's why brass files and aluminum files, you could use an aluminum file on brass too. So, and the regular half rounds you could also use on it too, but you gotta keep it carded, you know, keep the file card handy and just keep working it. And that. But the nice thing is with files, it's controlled removal. You're just going a little bit. You don't use it when you got big pieces. It's when you're fitting that last little bit. So, yeah, pass that around. Okay.
Slav, when I'm looking at garage sales and flea market and stuff, Nicholson I know, what other brands of files are really good brands to be keeping an eye on?
Heller is one of my favorites. You got Simons. You got Grobet. Grobet makes the best. I mean, Grobet is the one that makes their Swiss pattern that comes to a point. They're dangerous. You look at it, they could be weapons. I mean, or you know, they're wild. Like the Heller Swiss patterns, they don't get to that fine point like Grobet does. Any of these old files are good. They just made good stuff back then. You got Delta, no connection to Delta files. There's just, you know, there were all kinds of small companies that were making stuff back then. And, you know, you can't go wrong with the old stuff.
Where do you get your chalk? Or chalk units? Do you use a solid piece or?
Yeah, like blackboard chalk, just regular, just, you know, any, you know, kids' chalks that they use for writing on the floor.
Buy that at Walgreens, those big ones,
Yeah, those big ones, there you go. You know, you
for like a buck,
yeah,
for
just,
all different colors.
that's it, that's it. So it's a little bit of everything in that, so.
Sidewalk chalk.
Yeah, yeah. And it's amazing how much that helps out in that, so. Any other questions?
How do you keep the file from sinking to the bottom of the cake when you bake it?
You gotta put a filler under there to keep it up.
Suspend it with a little thin wire.
And that. Trying to think of anything else I could throw in on here for you.
Do you know how much they charge on average to sharpen files at company?
It's real cheap. I mean, it's really, you know, the ones that they charge more for are like the Nicholson, with these they charge more. I don't know why, but, you know, they charge more. But it's a fabulous deal. You know, I've sent them a bunch of stuff and it just comes back like brand new. It's just fabulous.
It's only like a few bucks, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, it's, you know.
more shipping per file.
Yeah, they do a fabulous job.
They're better than new. I mean,
Yeah.
you can send
Now-
a new Nicholson file, it's
Yeah,
better,
now-
when it comes back from them, better than it does from the
Yeah.
factory from Nicholson.
The guy at, I don't remember the guy's name at Boggs, he tells me that people used to buy brand new 49s and 50s and have them, he would sharpen them for them.
Right, yeah,
He
they
wouldn't,
come
you
out better
know,
than-
yeah, because I would use them first and then sharpen them, but people would just take them in. And when you touch it, it's like razor sharp. So Boggs is our friend, support them, we need to keep them around for a long time.
They do Rasps files and floats?
Yeah, all kinds of, he'll sharpen all kinds of stuff, all kinds of stuff. You know,
I've got a bunch of otherwise good files where, you know, they're junk fines that have aluminum or plaster or other things, you know, some of the teeth. And
he'll clean out, he can clean those all out. I don't know, I've never seen the system, but it's like a high-pressure slurry system. I don't know how he does it, but it's just fabulous, and the price you just go like this. You know, it's like, because like I said, if you buy a $30 file or $20, you could get that resharpened 2 to 3 times easy, and you could really get your money's worth out of it. So Boggs is our friend, support him, you know, because I don't know of anybody else doing it, so, you know, and they're in California too, so who knows what kind of laws they'll be passing there to, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, who knows, I mean, you know, the solvents you can't get in California now, so who knows, you know, so if you got stuff to sharpen, send them out to him, and anything else?
I see that the clue to this being an aluminum file is it says aluminum file.
Yes.
What, does the brass file have any designation on it?
Yes, it just says brass on
It does.
It does say brass. And remember, in the American pattern, if it says bastard, second cut, and smooth, American pattern. Straight numbers is Swiss pattern. And remember, Swiss pattern, it's all precision, points, sharp. So that's why they're more expensive. And you got the variations and all your work. And remember with Swiss pattern, all you want to do is get double, for woodworking, 00, 0, and 1 or 2 cut. One they stopped making like 20, 30 years ago. I don't know if anybody else is doing 1 cut. They went from 000 to 2, and so that's what I would recommend for anybody to get is 000, 0, and 2. That's all you need for woodworking. And if you're going to be doing anything else, polishing, that's when you want to go to, you know, 4 cut, 6 cut.
Are the ARUs graded like that with the zeros?
No, they go by grain. I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I gotta research that. But again, the RUs are fabulous rasps. They're really good. But the problem is they're very expensive. They're expensive because they're Swiss pattern and they're precision made, like the points and all of that. Where the 49 and 50, you know. And so what I'd recommend is get the 49 and 50, and I bought this because it's a small 6-inch. You know, I got a 6-inch cabinet rasp, but again, it's, you know, its top is chopped, so you don't, I got this for the versatility for that little stuff. And they also make, it's a renaissance in woodworking right now. You could get, you know, the hand tools have just been, they're making some great stuff. The Nicholson's files have gone downhill, and they're making precision stuff like this that's gone up. So you can get some really great stuff now. But you're going to be paying a price, but start off with the cabinet rasp, the 49 and 50, and then pick your moments where you need to spend the money, because this was like 50 bucks, I think. And I also got the Sawmaker's one that's curved. Like, it's this size and it's curved for doing saw handles. So it's just fabulous. And around, you know, you'll have to buy their rasp because, oh, Lee Valley is selling a lot. They have stuff made for them, and they're making some great stuff. So go look at their files too. They have a decent selection. They have some floats. They have a lot of cabinet rasps. They have a good selection, because I haven't had 6-inch cabinet rasps in like 3-4 years. You know, I'm putting myself out of business by selling files because you can't get them anymore. So, but it's, you know, it's a renaissance in woodworking because you can get some great stuff now from the Lee Nielsen, the Veritas, and just research, get catalogs, and you'll be able to find all kinds of good stuff for yourself. Any other questions? Anything I missed? Pulling a rabbit out of this one, so I hope I did a halfway decent.
Very good.
Thanks.